Hello and welcome to edumate.tv. I'm Chetan Sharma. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic, with history being written across the geography of Mother Earth. And a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each and every one of us rewind, rethink, reboot, reset, reformat before we rebuild a new life, a new normal. In the field of higher education, if there's one trait that's required at the helm to mitigate the challenges, look at solutions, and create opportunities, it's the trait of wisdom. Wisdom emanating from past experience and knowledge, and wisdom to be able to expect, embrace, and evolve into the new future. And for that, we have our very wise Chancellor. Well, today we have a very special guest from Jaipur, Poornima University. We've got Dr. Suresh Chandra Padhy. Thank you, sir, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you.
The environment has been challenging, but I also know that Dr. Padhy has been highly innovative in mitigating those challenges. So talk us through your experiences of the COVID-19 pandemic.
It is not a matter that I am only innovative and others are not. We have to go according to the situation that any wise person or any person should do. So now the challenge has come because it is not only to education institution but all the sectors. Some sectors are doing well like pharma, like IT services, telecom. Many sectors are not doing well like education, manufacturing and others. So everybody is trying to find out the ways and means, keeping this virus in mind. Online education, although is the best solution, but definitely when you start in the beginning or there's a new education system, the challenges are there. The challenge one, mostly the university like us, where the students from rural background do study, the worst challenge is the infrastructure. Because suppose a university in Mumbai and mostly the students are from metro, they may not have that much infrastructure problem like laptop, like Wi-Fi, like connectivity, but the university like us, they have to surpass this kind of challenges. But we are mentally ready. Everybody, all my faculties are working tirelessly to make sure that the students should not suffer. They are trying to make the video lecture so that at least if online lecture is not possible sometime, then they can send that content to them. So sometimes they divide the class if the network is not there. So what they do, they first teach 50% of the student whose network is better, and the 50% student they teach later on. So all the permutation and combinations we try to do, but ultimately our aim is students should not waste the time.
How has been the response thus far by the students and the teachers? Because with most of the vice chancellors I've spoken to, they seem to suggest that teaching the student is, of course, challenging at times, but teaching the teachers and training them is even a bigger challenge.
And I feel it is both the cases, teaching to teacher as well as teaching to students, both are challenging. Rather, I say teachers have realized this is going to be new normal because they have mentally adapted. If they have to work in education sector, they have to get into this. But the student, although they are interested, but infrastructure is an issue. The second biggest challenge is for a teacher, he need not to teach 7 hours. But a student, he has to sit for 7 hours, which is more difficult. Because they have never been used to sit alone for 7 hours. At least the friends were there, peer were there.
So what are the creative ways you have actually employed to try and make it more interesting for them, to try and make it more engaging for them? And the reason I talked about teachers training being critical was because the teachers have to unlearn a bit and then relearn again.
When the normal class used to happen, that time the teacher used to go to the class and start teaching on the board or showing the PowerPoint presentation. Now, with the PowerPoint presentation, they have to also arrange the videos, small clips, small videos in between. Or at least if they give the video, like nowadays at least NPTEL videos are helping us a lot. So they take the clip or YouTube clips and put it, so that instead of making only one way, because when the lot of students are there, it is difficult for the teacher to see all the faces. So for teacher, it is challenging to talk to only the computer. In between, now we are telling them even to put some small interaction, like some question answer session, short question, or some activity. But if you say how far I am successful, then it is a big question mark, 3 question marks.
Question marks tell me that you understand and realize and recognize that it's always going to be a work in progress, at least for some time.
Yes.
Till there's permanency restored. And also it tells me that you and your team have got an open mind to continue to learn along with the students, which itself is very welcoming. Now, there's been a big hullabaloo about the examinations, first the CBSE examinations, first scrapping the examinations, then of course the results now are out. But that also means that you've got to work quick time for admissions. It also, in an environment where people are looking at multidisciplinary skills, not just a unique skills, the challenges also are plenty, because there's lots of ground catching that needs to be done. So how have you fared in terms of being flexible, dynamic, and contemporary?
Ultimately, let me tell you, we are hoping that face-to-face class will start by January. We are hoping, and we are expecting that. Somewhere we need to start with the proper process of social distancing, and we are waiting that UGC will give us the permission. So that is the quote-unquote expectation. Point number 2, this also gives us a better flexibility to have faculty from all over India.
Sure.
So it gives me flexibility and good for the student that I am getting the intellectual capital from all over India. I am accessible to now, including few foreign faculties are ready to now teach. So that is another thing, another good thing.
Right.
But I am very sure slowly there will be a blended learning. It is not only going to be face to face.
Yes.
It is not only going to be only online.
About admissions, how has been the response this time around? Has it been more challenging? But there's also the opportunity, because one gets to the sense that because of COVID, the access of students is going to be more regionalized. People are going to be more risk averse to travel outside their state. So maybe that's an opportunity for you. Talk us through that. And also I mentioned about the multidisciplinary skills and courses and curriculums. Have you imbibed that?
As far as Poornima University is concerned, we have been following that multidisciplinary approach since 4-5 years. I agree, 7 lakh students, they used to go outside of the country. This year they will not go. So that 7 lakh population, if they join, they will join in Indian education system. That is one good thing. Similarly, now the results are out. So just results are out 10 days back or 5 days back or 7 days back. So the process has picked up. But it is very difficult for me to say whether it will match to my last year progress or it will surpass the progress. I cannot say today, because just picked up.
What's also happening with COVID, because of the advantages you mentioned, it's also throwing open a higher sense of competition.
Yes.
Because what's advantages to you is advantages to everybody.
Certainly.
And it's also opening up a lot of avenues, and there's a problem of plenty when it comes to students' choices, which has its own deficiencies, so as to speak. But that having been said, in an environment where jobs are few and far between, employability is paramount. Self-employment and entrepreneurship is now being talked about. How are you evolving in this new normal scenario?
Government has announced that they will give the permission to 100 universities, those who are in the better lot or the according to the ranking, to allow them to start the online education. So suppose they are allowed to have to conduct or to run the online education, they have definitely more access. So that is not, but at the same time, today we do have only 21% of the students are entering to higher education. So if they open up the online education system, the 21 will become 41%. So it is not a question that the university like us, those who are not permitted to start online, will not survive. Always the people will survive, those who are good. My approach is only, can we do the best for the students? Ultimately, it is the service organization. So if I can do best for the students, if you produce the gold, it will be sold.
That this is the great opportunity to completely and radically change the education system, which
Sure.
has been somewhat said to be archaic and somewhat irrelevant, whether it's to do with curriculum, whether it's to do with holistic education, whether it's to do with character building, of a nation, or also self-reliance. I mean, if you want a self-reliant country, as the Prime Minister says, you need to have a self-reliant education system. So where do you think are the need gaps at this point of time?
From our generation or your generation, we have been studied to mug up the textbook and produce it in the answer sheets. We were not having that idea to go for critical thinking skill or creative skill while answering, which we missed for 50 to 60 years according to me. The best part is there are 2-3 things. The skill need to be developed, or outcome education what government is trying to tell. It is not imbibed the way it should be imbibed. Point number 2, the research part has to be included in the lower class, like undergraduate or +2. They have to start the basic of the research. Then only they will understand what is critical thinking. Unless until you change the exam system, it is not going to be possible for the student to adopt that culture. Right. So the systematic change has to be done in the undergraduate or the +2 level. The basic research has to be done. The critical thinking part has to be done. The students should not be given marks according to the how much mug up they have done, rather than only application based exam should, or the open book based exam should happen. Then only we will cultivate so that the student will be ready either for the job or to become an entrepreneur. Because today the students of, I'm not talking about top 20-30 institutions, barring that 80% of the university or institutes, the student, even though they pass out, they are not confident.
You got to create an ambience to encourage research to flourish.
Yes.
And of course, a part of it will also come by investment of the government, because we need a higher amount of investment in education. At least twice or thrice the current percentage GDP is required if we want to match up to the other developed countries. So thank you for highlighting that. I think it's a very, very valid point you brought out. Now, you've been extremely insightful in your understanding of the education system thus far, and its need gaps. So obviously, you've done the critical thinking yourself about it, which wants me to know more a little bit about you and what's been your career path and what's brought you to this state. So talk us through the highlights of Dr. Suresh Chandra Padhy's career.
I started my career as a soldier in Indian Army. Many may not believe it. As a soldier in Indian Army, I joined Maratha Regiment. But then situation became like this. I became little casualty. So I had to be posted at Pune. And I thought, now I am posted in Pune, so let me take this opportunity to do something. And so I joined MBA in Symbiosis. So that was my good luck, and it gave me a different perspective of life. And after joining, I left Indian Army and completed management graduation. And then I joined with Balaji group of institutions. That time it was starting. I started my career there as a teacher in 1998 as a lecturer. And within 4 years, I became 2002. I became deputy director of one of the institutions. That time, MBA institutions were doing well. So, and 2003, I became director academics, and I stayed there for 21 years. Become the senior most director of the group, entire group, having 4 management institutions and 3 colleges. So that you can say that gave me Balaji Society or the Balaji University gave me that opportunity to grow in my life. I am grateful and thankful to Sri Balaji University. Now it has become university. And last year I thought, okay, now enough, I have done this as a director. So let me look for a bigger opportunity. So last year I joined as a Vice Chancellor.
You've shown the traits of discipline, of rigor, of loyalty, which is so characteristic of an Indian soldier, and you brought that into the education system, and we're very grateful for you for having done that. You've also shown us the way as to how to turn a crisis, basically a small mini personal life crisis, into an opportunity. Obviously, you're opportune to take advantage of this major crisis, and we look forward to learning from you from that for the future.
Thank you.
And if that be the case, Dr. Padhy, I'd like a piece of advice from you for four sections of our education ecosphere: the student, the parent, the teacher, and your fellow Vice Chancellor. What would that be, sir?
See, I can say only everything is possible in life. You have to have patience. So you should not be bothered about what you don't have. You should be bothered about what you do with what you have. Your likes and dislikes are the subordinate to the purpose of your life. So whether you like it or not, if your purpose is something, you have to do according to that. So all your likes and dislikes, every time you have to ask the same question, whether my purpose is, if I want to become something, so what is my likes and dislikes should be subordinate to that purpose.
Well, thank you, sir, for teaching us the values of patience, of perseverance, of perspective, of preferences, and of course, above all, of purpose. You truly have been our Vice Chancellor. Thank you for this talk.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, the initiative, whatever you have taken. It is really, you are doing a noble job for making aware of the education or education group of our country. You are doing a noble job of giving opportunity for the people like us to give our thinking, perspective, so that it can benefit to the other people. Or you are giving also as an opportunity to learn from you all and then learn the other point of view. I am really, really grateful to you, grateful to your service.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Right.